Snow pounds Route 90. A little girl can't breathe. Emma Sterling, 7 years old, gasps for air outside a dead Mercedes while her grandparents watch helplessly. "Please, somebody help us," Margaret Sterling whispers to the empty highway. Then a tow truck appears through the storm. Jerome Williams is 10 minutes from his family's Thanksgiving dinner. 10 minutes from keeping a promise to Maya and 8-year-old Zoe, who've been waiting all day for him to come home. He could drive past, should drive past. Instead, Jerome hits the brakes. What he doesn't know is that this one choice, stopping for strangers when he has every reason not to, will lead to the most important phone call of his life. A call that will reveal a connection spanning 15 years, a debt that changed everything, and an offer that will transform not just his world, but an entire community. Sometimes missing dinner changes your destiny. 29-year-old Jerome Williams locks the rusty door of Williams Auto Repair as snow begins to dust East Cleveland's cracked sidewalks. The faded sign above his father's garage reads like a promise he's struggling to keep. Honest work, fair prices, family legacy. But legacy doesn't pay rent. Jerome's breath clouds in the December air as he counts today's earnings. $180. Enough for groceries, maybe. Not enough for the $1,200 rent due Monday. Not enough for the stack of overdue bills sitting on his kitchen counter like unwelcome dinner guests. His phone buzzes. Maya's voice brings instant warmth. "Zoe's been asking when you're coming home every 10 minutes. She helped me make stuffing just like you taught her." In the background, 8-year-old Zoe's excited chatter echoes. "Is that Jerome? Tell him I made him a turkey drawing, with his name in sparkles." Jerome's chest tightens with familiar guilt. Another day he worked late. Another evening Zoe waited by the window. Another promise Maya made to cover for his absence. "I'm leaving now," he tells them. 10 minutes, I swear." But swearing and delivering are different things in Jerome's world. Inside his beat-up truck, Jerome stares at his reflection in the rearview mirror. Dark circles under tired eyes. Grease stains on his coveralls that won't wash out. At 29, he looks older than his years, worn down by the weight of providing for a family that isn't technically his, but feels more real than anything else in his life. Maya never asks for more than he can give, never complains when work runs late or money runs short, never mentions that other men might offer stability he can't provide. Zoe calls him Jerome, not Daddy, a constant reminder that he's still earning his place in their small family. The garage represents everything his father Thomas Williams built from nothing. Every tool tells a story of honest work, fair dealing, and careful craftsmanship. But honest work doesn't compete with chain stores offering $20 oil changes and 15-minute service. Jerome's phone shows his bank balance. $347.82. Monday's rent, $1,200. The math doesn't work. It hasn't worked for months. Thomas Williams died 2 years ago in a car accident, leaving behind a garage, some tools, and a son who inherited more love than profit. Jerome found his father's final bank statement in the office desk. $400 and a dream that America still rewarded hard work. Sometimes Jerome wonders if his father was naive, or if the world just changed. Route 90 stretches ahead, slick with early snow. Jerome's radio plays old R&B while he mentally catalogs everything waiting at home. Maya in the kitchen wearing the apron he bought last Christmas. Zoe's hand-drawn place cards are arranged around their small table. The smell of turkey and cornbread filling rooms too tiny for 3 people but somehow perfect when they're all together. His automotive engineering degree hangs in their bedroom, a reminder of bigger dreams deferred by reality. Jerome graduated from community college with honors, ready to design the future of transportation. Instead, he inherited a garage and discovered that theoretical knowledge means nothing without practical opportunity. Maya understands. She lost her teaching job when budget cuts hit the district. They're both overqualified and underpaid, 2 educated people watching their dreams shrink to fit their circumstances. But they have each other. They have Zoe's laughter. They have Sunday mornings when money troubles fade and love feels like enough. Tonight is supposed to be different. Jerome promised to be home by 7, promised to carve the turkey, say grace, make Zoe feel like the center of someone's universe. Maya cleared her schedule, decorated their apartment, turned their financial stress into gratitude for small blessings. Jerome checks the time, 6:50. Perfect. He'll make it. His phone buzzes with a text from Maya. Zoe's wearing her fancy dress. She says she's been practicing how to say grace just for you. The guilt hits harder than the steering wheel during his father's accident. Zoe practicing grace. Maya cooks all day. Two people who believe Jerome Williams is worth waiting for, worth loving, worth building a life around. He pictures walking through their door to squeals of excitement. Zoe runs to hug his legs while Maya smiles from the kitchen doorway. The three of them sitting around their small table holding hands, pretending their love is enough to pay bills and secure futures. Maybe it is enough. Maybe that's what his father never understood, that success isn't measured in bank balances but in people who wait for you to come home. Jerome's truck tires grip the snowy asphalt as he accelerates toward Route 90. 10 minutes to the exit. 5 minutes through the neighborhood. He'll be carving turkey by 7:15, listening to Zoe's blessing, watching Maya's face relax for the first time in weeks. For once, work can wait. For once, Jerome Williams is choosing family over everything else. The snow falls harder, but Jerome doesn't slow down. Nothing will stop him from keeping this promise. Nothing except the choice that's waiting for him in the storm ahead. Jerome is 8 minutes from his exit when he sees them. Through the swirling snow, hazard lights flash desperately from the shoulder. A black Mercedes sits disabled, steam rising from its hood despite the freezing air. Jerome's first instinct is to keep driving. He's not on duty, not getting paid, and Zoe's waiting for him with practiced grace and sparkly turkey drawings. But something makes him slow down. A family stands outside the luxury car in 18-degree weather. Even through his snow-covered windshield, Jerome can see their panic. An elderly man in an expensive coat gestures frantically at the Mercedes. A woman clutches her phone, shaking it like that might summon a signal from the storm. And then, Jerome sees her. A little girl in a pink winter coat, standing too still in the bitter wind. Her small frame trembles with more than cold. Even from his truck, Jerome recognizes the signs. The way she holds her chest, the careful breathing, the look of quiet fear that comes when a child realizes the adults can't fix everything. Jerome's phone buzzes. Maya. Zoe just asked if you forgot about us. I told her you're on your way. Please hurry. His thumb hovers over the reply button. 8 minutes. He could text back, almost there, and keep driving. No one would blame him for not stopping on Thanksgiving night in a snowstorm for strangers who can obviously afford roadside assistance. But the little girl hasn't moved. Jerome hits his flashers and pulls over. The moment he steps outside, the cold bites through his coveralls like knives. The family turns toward him with the desperate hope of people who've been praying for exactly this. Someone, anyone, willing to stop. Thank God, the woman says, rushing toward him. Our granddaughter, she has asthma and the car died. Her inhaler is locked inside, but nothing's working. Jerome looks at the child and sees Zoe's face. 7 years old, maybe 8. Brown hair escaping from a knitted hat. Eyes wide with the kind of fear that makes adults move mountains. What's your name, sweetheart? Jerome asks, kneeling in the snow beside her. Emma, she whispers, her breath coming in short, careful puffs. My chest feels tight. The grandfather, distinguished, silver-haired, wearing a watch that costs more than Jerome's monthly income, extends his hand. Robert Sterling. This is my wife, Margaret, and our granddaughter, Emma. We were driving to our daughter's house when the engine just died. Jerome notices the man's confident handshake, the way he naturally takes charge even in crisis. The expensive briefcase sitting in the snow bears a logo, 3 interlocked circles surrounding the letter S. But Jerome's attention stays fixed on Emma. The inhaler's in the glove compartment, Margaret explains, her voice cracking. But when the car died, everything went dead. No power, no way to get inside. Jerome pops the Mercedes hood and immediately sees the problem. The fan belt snapped, causing the engine to overheat catastrophically. Coolant pools on the asphalt, steaming in the snow. The overheating killed the alternator, draining the battery completely. This isn't a roadside fix. This needs major repair work, replacement parts, hours in a heated garage. Emma's breathing grows more labored. Jerome's phone rings. Maya's voice cuts through the wind. Jerome, where are you? Zoe's getting really worried. She thinks something happened to you. Jerome looks at his phone, 7:05, then at Emma's frightened face, then at the Mercedes that won't start without extensive repairs. Baby, I'm going to be late. he tells Maya. "There's a family with a sick little girl. I can't leave them." Silence on the other end. Then Maya's strained voice. "How late?" Jerome looks at Emma, who's trying so hard to breathe normally that it breaks his heart. "I don't know. Maybe a couple hours." "Jerome." Maya's disappointment travels through the phone like a physical thing. "Zoe made you a place card. She's been practicing saying grace for weeks." The guilt nearly doubles him over, but Emma takes another careful breath and Jerome remembers his father's words. "Character isn't what you do when it's convenient, son. It's what you do when it costs you something. Tonight, it's costing him everything that matters." "I'm sorry," Jerome tells Maya. "I'll make it up to you both, I promise." But promises are easy to make and hard to keep, and Jerome's already broken too many. He hangs up and turns to the Sterling family. "I'm going to get your car running, but first we need to get Emma somewhere warm. My truck has heat." Robert Sterling pulls out his wallet. "I'll pay you whatever. Let's worry about your granddaughter first." Jerome cuts him off. As Jerome carries Emma to his heated truck cab, she looks up with eyes that remind him of every child who's ever needed help. "Are you going to fix it?" she asks. "Yes, sweetheart," Jerome promises. "Uncle Jerome's going to take care of everything." He doesn't know this promise will change both their lives forever. Jerome settles Emma in his truck's heated cab, wrapping her in his work jacket that still smells like motor oil and honest sweat. The warmth begins working immediately. Her breathing grows less labored, the blue tinge fading from her small lips. "Tell me about school," Jerome says, keeping her talking while he assesses her condition. His father taught him basic first aid during those long afternoons in the garage. "Do you like your teacher?" "Mrs. Patterson is nice," Emma whispers, her voice gaining strength as the heat surrounds her. "She lets us draw pictures during reading time." Jerome keys his CB radio. "This is Williams Towing on Route 90, mile marker 34. I've got a 7-year-old with respiratory distress from asthma, requesting paramedic assistance when road conditions allow." The dispatcher's voice crackles back through static. "Copy that, Williams. Current ETA unknown due to weather conditions. Continue first aid and monitor the patient." Outside, the snow falls harder, temperature dropping. Roads are getting worse by the minute. Jerome grabs his emergency toolkit from the truck bed, parts and equipment he keeps for exactly these situations. But looking under that Mercedes hood again, the scope of damage becomes clear. This isn't a quick fix. The overheating caused cascade failures throughout multiple systems. Margaret Sterling joins him at the engine. "Is it bad?" "Not gonna lie to you," Jerome says, his breath clouding in the frigid air. "Your cooling system's shot. Fan belt, radiator, probably the water pump. In normal circumstances, this is a 6-hour job minimum." Margaret's face falls. "And these aren't normal circumstances." Jerome looks at Emma through his truck's rear window. She's drawn a smiley face on the fogged glass. "No, ma'am, they're not. But I've got some ideas." What Jerome has is determination, and the kind of stubborn ingenuity that comes from fixing things with whatever's available. From his emergency supplies, he pulls a spare fan belt, emergency coolant, and industrial-strength leak sealant. It won't be pretty. It won't last long, but it might get them moving. His phone buzzes constantly, Maya calling, texting, each notification a small knife of guilt. Finally, he answers. "Jerome, Zoe's crying." Maya's voice cuts straight to his heart. "She thinks you don't want to come home." Jerome's hands freeze on his wrench. Through his truck window, he can see Emma watching him work, her small face pressed against the glass with the complete trust that only children give to adults who promise to help. "Baby, tell Zoe I'll be there as soon as I can. There's a little girl here who reminds me of her. I can't walk away." Maya's silence speaks volumes. When she finally responds, her voice is strained but understanding. "I know who you are, Jerome Williams. That's why I love you, but Zoe doesn't understand. She just knows Jerome isn't here." The words hit harder than the December wind. Jerome closes his eyes, seeing Zoe's disappointed face, the carefully set table, the grace she practiced just for him. "I'm doing the right thing," Jerome says, more to convince himself than Maya. "I know you are," Maya replies quietly. "That's what makes this hurt so much." Jerome works with methodical precision despite numb fingers and constant guilt. He replaces the snapped fan belt, patches the major coolant leak with sealant, and jury-rigs a temporary bypass for the damaged radiator lines. Robert Sterling watches him work with obvious admiration. "Son, I've seen a lot of mechanics in my day. You're good at this." "My dad taught me," Jerome says, adjusting the belt tension. "He used to say a real mechanic doesn't just fix cars, he solves problems with whatever's available. Smart man, your father." Jerome pauses, remembering Thomas Williams' bent-over engines, teaching patience and precision. Yeah, he was. Margaret brings Emma out to watch the final stages of repair. The little girl's breathing is completely normal now, her cheeks pink with warmth instead of blue with cold. "Is our car going to be okay?" Emma asks. Jerome tightens the last connection. "It's not going to be perfect, sweetheart, but it'll get you home safe. That's what matters." The moment of truth arrives. Jerome turns the key. The Mercedes engine turns over once, twice, then catches. Heat begins flowing through the vents immediately. The dashboard lights up like Christmas morning. Emma claps her small hands together. "You fixed it! You really fixed it!" But Jerome's repair comes with conditions. "This is temporary," he tells Robert seriously. "Maybe 20 minutes of driving before the patchwork fails. You need to get to a real garage immediately. How much do we owe you?" Robert reaches for his wallet again. Jerome waves him off. "Nothing. Just get Emma somewhere warm and safe." Robert Sterling stares at him with something like amazement. "Son, you just saved our granddaughter's life and fixed our car in a blizzard. Let me—" "Mr. Sterling," Jerome interrupts gently. "Seeing her breathing normally again, that's payment enough." Margaret Sterling steps forward, tears in her eyes. "You don't understand. Emma missed her medication window because of the breakdown. If you hadn't stopped—" She doesn't finish the sentence, but the implication hangs heavy in the frozen air. Emma tugs on Jerome's coveralls. "Thank you for helping me breathe better," she says solemnly. Then she removes a small friendship bracelet from her wrist, the kind children make with bright threads and careful knots. "This is for you, for being the nicest man in the world." Jerome accepts the bracelet with genuine emotion, slipping it into his coveralls pocket. "You keep being brave, okay, Emma? And take care of that heart." As the Sterling family prepares to leave, Robert presses a business card into Jerome's hand despite his protests. "Please, I insist you take this. What you did tonight." Jerome glances at the card briefly. Thick cardstock, raised lettering, Robert J. Sterling, CEO, but pockets it without really reading. He's too focused on Emma's grateful smile and his phone showing 8:30. "Drive careful," Jerome tells them, "and get that car to a real mechanic tomorrow." Robert Sterling grips his shoulder with surprising strength. "Jerome Williams, I'll remember that name." Jerome waves goodbye, assuming it's just politeness. He doesn't notice Robert immediately pulling out his phone to make calls as their Mercedes disappears into the snow. Standing alone beside his truck, Jerome finally processes what he's done. 2.5 hours late, Zoe is probably asleep. Maya cleaning up a dinner he missed. Another promise broken for the sake of strangers. But Emma's bracelet weighs heavy in his pocket, and her grateful smile stays with him as he climbs back into his truck. Some choices cost everything. But looking at that little girl's face, Jerome knows his father would understand. Character isn't what you do when it's convenient. It's what you do when it costs you something. Tonight, it cost him everything that mattered. Or so he thinks. Jerome drives through the empty streets of East Cleveland at 9:15, Emma's friendship bracelet resting in his pocket like a small weight of consequence. The snow has stopped, leaving the world clean and quiet under streetlights that flicker more than they shine. His house sits dark except for the porch light Maya always leaves on. Her car in the driveway means she's home, probably cleaning up the dinner he missed, probably putting Zoe to bed with explanations about why Jerome didn't come home when he promised. Jerome sits in his truck for a moment, gathering courage to face what his choice cost. Inside, the apartment still smells like Thanksgiving. Turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, all the warmth he traded for a stranger's gratitude. The dining table sits exactly as Maya set it hours ago, complete with Zoe's hand-drawn place card reading Jerome in purple crayon with glitter around the edges. A covered plate waits on the counter with a note in Maya's careful handwriting. "We're proud of you. Heat this up and get some sleep. Love, M and Z." The words hit harder than anger would have. Jerome finds Maya in their bedroom grading papers by lamplight even though it's Thanksgiving night. She looks up when he enters, her expression carefully neutral. "How's the little girl?" she asks. "Emma, she's okay, breathing normally when they left." Jerome sits on the bed's edge, still wearing his coveralls. "Maya, I'm sorry. I know how much tonight meant." "Jerome." Maya's voice is gentle but firm. "Stop apologizing for being who you are." "But Zoe," I was disappointed. "Yes. She cried for 20 minutes and asked why you didn't want to come home." Maya sets down her pen. "But then I told her about the little girl who couldn't breathe, and you know what she said?" Jerome shakes his head. "She said, oh, Jerome had to help her like he helps everybody. Then she asked if we could save you some pie." The simple acceptance in Zoe's words breaks something loose in Jerome's chest. An 8-year-old understands what he struggles to believe, that helping others isn't a character flaw, but a character strength. "I found something in your coveralls," Maya continues, pulling Robert Sterling's business card from the dresser. "Do you know who this is?" Jerome takes the card, reading it properly for the first time. "Robert J. Sterling, Chief Executive Officer, Sterling Industries." He looks up, confused. "Some businessman, I guess. Why?" Maya opens her laptop, typing rapidly. "Jerome, look at this." The screen fills with search results. Sterling Industries awarded $2.3 billion defense contract. Billionaire CEO Robert Sterling announces community investment initiative. Sterling Family Foundation reaches $100 million in charitable donations. Jerome stares at Robert Sterling's corporate headshot, the same worried grandfather he spent the evening helping. That can't be right. He was just a regular person whose granddaughter needed help. "A regular person worth $3 billion, Maya says, scrolling through articles. "Jerome, do you understand what this means? That rich people get stranded too?" Maya turns the laptop toward him. "It means you saved the granddaughter of one of the most powerful men in America. And he saw exactly who you are, the man who stops for strangers, who fixes things, who keeps promises to children even when it costs him everything." Jerome looks at Emma's friendship bracelet, then at Robert Sterling's business card. The connection feels surreal, like pieces of a puzzle he didn't know he was solving. "What do you think he'll do?" Jerome asks. Maya closes the laptop and takes his hands. "I think Robert Sterling spent tonight watching a man choose service over self-interest. I think he saw someone worth knowing better." Jerome's phone sits silent on the nightstand. No missed calls, no messages. Just the business card of a billionaire who insisted on giving something in return for kindness freely given. "Maybe he'll send a thank you note," Jerome says. Maya smiles, the first genuine smile he's seen from her all evening. "Jerome Williams, I don't think you understand what you set in motion tonight." But understanding will come soon enough. In the morning, Robert Sterling will make phone calls. He'll ask questions. He'll discover connections that span 15 years and reach back to a desert in Afghanistan where a young sergeant named Thomas Williams made a choice that echoed forward through time. Tonight, Jerome just wants to eat cold turkey and hold the woman who loves him despite his need to help strangers. Tomorrow, everything changes. While Jerome sleeps, Robert Sterling sits in his home office staring at a photograph that changes everything. The faded image shows 2 soldiers in Afghanistan, 2010. A young Lieutenant Robert Sterling, barely 25, stands beside a grinning black sergeant whose nameplate reads T. Williams. "Linda," Robert speaks into his secure phone. "I need everything on Jerome Williams. Williams Auto Repair, East Cleveland. Full background, priority 1. His assistant's voice crackles back. "Sir, it's nearly midnight on Thanksgiving. This can't wait." Margaret finds her husband at 2 a.m., still holding the military photograph. "You think Jerome is Thomas Williams' son. The way he moved tonight, how he talked to Emma, refused payment, it's exactly what Thomas would have done." Robert's phone buzzes with the preliminary report. Jerome Williams, 29, inherited the shop 2 years ago when his father died. Father Thomas Williams, Army combat medic, served Afghanistan 2009 to 2011 inches. The pieces click into place. "Thomas pulled me from a burning vehicle," Robert whispers. "Kept me alive for 2 hours with field surgery. I promised him I'd build something meaningful if I survived." Margaret watches her husband's face transform. "And you built Sterling Industries on the values he taught me, service above self, integrity in action." Robert stands, decision crystallizing. I've spent 15 years trying to find his family through veteran programs and scholarships. Tonight, his son saved our granddaughter. What are you planning? Robert picks up his phone. I'm calling him. It's 3 a.m. I've waited 15 years to repay this debt. I'm not waiting another minute. Meanwhile, Jerome's neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, peers through her curtain at the expensive cars that were parked outside earlier. That boy's always helping people, she tells her husband. About time someone helped him back. At Sterling Industries headquarters, the overnight security team logs an unusual entry. CEO Robert Sterling arriving at 3:47 a.m., accessing the executive conference room with architectural plans and legal documents. By dawn, Robert had made 17 phone calls to lawyers, accountants, and engineers. By 7 a.m., he reviewed zoning permits for East Cleveland and analyzed community development opportunities. At 8:15, as Jerome drinks coffee in his small kitchen, his phone rings. Jerome Williams, this is Robert Sterling. I believe we have more to discuss than just last night. I knew your father. Jerome nearly drops his mug. My father? How could you? Afghanistan, 2010. Sergeant Thomas Williams saved my life. I've been looking for his family ever since. Robert's voice grows firm with conviction. Can you meet me at your shop this morning? There's something I owe you both. Tuesday morning. Jerome stands in his garage holding a wrench like a lifeline, waiting for a billionaire CEO to explain how he knew his father. The impossibility of it all makes his hands shake. A black Lincoln Navigator pulls up to Williams Auto Repair at exactly 9 a.m. Robert Sterling steps out, followed by 2 assistants carrying briefcases and what looks like architectural plans. The same man who stood helpless in a snowstorm now moves with the confidence of someone who builds empires. Mr. Sterling, you didn't have to come here, Jerome says, wiping grease from his palms. Is Emma okay? Robert's smile is warm but carries weight Jerome doesn't understand yet. She's perfect, thanks to you, but that's not why I'm here. Jerome leads them into his modest shop, suddenly self-conscious about the cramped space, outdated equipment, and the photo of his father in dress uniform watching over everything. Robert examines the garage with surprising interest, noting the careful organization, well-maintained tools, and obvious pride in workmanship. Your father was military? Robert asks, though his tone suggests he already knows. Army medic, served 2 tours in Afghanistan. Jerome's voice fills with obvious pride. Best man I ever knew. He died 2 years ago in a car accident. Robert stops in front of Thomas Williams's photograph, studying the face with intensity that makes Jerome uncomfortable. Thomas Williams, 82nd Airborne, combat medic attached to the 3rd Infantry Division. Jerome's wrench slips from his hand, clattering on concrete. How do you know that? Robert reaches into his briefcase and produces a faded military photograph, young Robert Sterling and Thomas Williams, arms around each other in desert camouflage, both grinning at the camera despite the harsh Afghanistan landscape behind them. Because your father saved my life. The words hit Jerome like physical blows. He stares at the photograph, seeing his father's young face beside this stranger who's no longer a stranger. That's impossible. Afghanistan 2010. Robert begins, his voice heavy with 15-year-old emotion. I was Lieutenant Sterling, 25 years old, fresh out of officer training, convinced I knew everything about leadership and warfare. Your father was Sergeant Williams, experienced, steady, the kind of NCO who keeps young officers alive despite their stupidity. Jerome sinks onto a work stool, overwhelmed. Dad never talked about the war, never told me he saved anyone. He wouldn't. Humility was part of his character. Just like yours, Robert continues, his voice growing distant with memory. Our convoy hit an IED outside Kandahar. I was trapped in a burning armored vehicle, unconscious from the blast, probably minutes from death. Your father pulled me out, alone, under enemy fire. Then he performed field surgery with a medic kit and whatever supplies he could scavenge, keeping me alive for 3 hours until medevac could reach us through the firefight. Jerome's eyes fill with tears he didn't expect. He never said anything, never mentioned saving anyone, never talked about being a hero. Because he didn't see it as heroic. He saw it as duty, service above self, taking care of people who couldn't take care of themselves. Robert's voice grows firm. The same values I watched you demonstrate last night. The shop goes quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of traffic on Euclid Avenue. Jerome looks between the photograph and Robert's earnest face, trying to process connections that span 15 years and half a world. "I don't understand," Jerome whispers. "What does this mean?" Robert steps closer, his expression intense. "It means I've spent 15 years trying to find Thomas Williams's family. Every veteran program I've funded, every scholarship I've established, every community investment Sterling Industries has made, I was hoping to honor the man who gave me a second chance at life. And I never found you, until last night, when you found me." Jerome stands, pacing the small space like a caged animal. "This is crazy. Yesterday, I was worried about rent money. Today, you're telling me my father saved the life of a billionaire CEO? Yesterday, you saved my granddaughter's life," Robert replies quietly. "Same courage, same character, same choice to put others first despite personal cost. Watching you work last night, refusing payment, caring more about Emma's breathing than your own problems, I knew you had to be Thomas's son before I even knew your name." Margaret Sterling, who's been quietly listening from the doorway, steps forward. "Robert has carried that photograph everywhere for 15 years. Your father's example shaped everything he built afterward." "Sterling Industries isn't just a defense contractor," Robert explains. "We develop technology that saves lives. Medical equipment, emergency response systems, automotive safety innovations, everything inspired by your father's example of service." Jerome's voice cracks with emotion. "Dad died thinking he hadn't given me enough, worried the shop wasn't sufficient, that he hadn't prepared me for the world." Robert grips Jerome's shoulder. "Son, he gave you everything that matters: character, integrity, the courage to stop for strangers in snowstorms. Your father's greatest achievement wasn't saving my life, it was raising a son who embodies the same values. But I'm just a mechanic. I fix cars in a garage. I don't save lives or build companies. You saved a life last night, and you're about to discover that sometimes one act of service echoes through time in ways you never imagined." Robert gestures to his assistants, who open briefcases filled with documents, architectural plans, and financial projections. "Your father saved my life so I could build something meaningful. Now I want to offer you the opportunity he never got to see, the chance to serve others on a scale that honors his sacrifice." Jerome stares at the papers, overwhelmed. "What are you talking about?" Robert's voice grows firm with conviction. "I'm talking about a partnership, Jerome. Sterling Community Solutions, a new division focused on automotive training and community development, and I want you to help me build it." The garage falls silent as destiny finally catches up to where it should have been 15 years ago. Robert Sterling spreads architectural plans across Jerome's workbench like he's unveiling the future itself. The drawings show a modern training facility with classrooms, diagnostic bays, and equipment that makes Jerome's current tools look like antiques. "Sterling Community Solutions," Robert announces. "A partnership between Sterling Industries and someone who understands both the technical and human sides of automotive service, someone who shares our values." Jerome stares at the blueprints, trying to comprehend buildings and programs that seem too large for his small world. "Mr. Sterling, I appreciate this, but I fix transmissions and change oil. I don't know anything about running training programs or managing partnerships." "That's exactly why we need you," Robert replies, activating a tablet that shows financial projections and business models. "We have MBAs and engineers, but we need someone who understands the real world, someone who knows what it means to work with your hands, to serve customers who count every dollar." Margaret Sterling speaks gently. "Jerome, this isn't charity. This is recognition of something we should have offered your father, the opportunity to build something lasting." Robert pulls out a detailed contract folder. 25% equity stake in Sterling Community Solutions, $150,000 startup capital, $75,000 annual salary with full benefits for your family. Jerome's hands shake as he opens the folder. The numbers swim before his eyes, figures that represent more money than he's seen in his entire life. "Mr. Sterling, my shop makes maybe $30,000 on a good year. This is what your father's sacrifice earned," Robert interrupts. "Not just for saving my life, but for teaching me the values that built everything I have." Jerome walks to his father's photograph, needing guidance from eyes that can't provide it. What exactly would I do? Transform this shop into the Thomas Williams Community Automotive Training Center, Robert explains, spreading more documents across the bench. Teaching modern automotive technology, electric vehicles, hybrid systems, advanced diagnostics. Creating career pathways for people who need second chances. Margaret adds practical details. We'd also fund advanced training for you, electric vehicle certification, business management, instructional design. Not college, but professional development that builds on what you already know. Jerome's mind races with possibilities and fears. What about my employees? Tony and Miguel depend on this shop. Robert smiles, producing employment contracts. They become lead instructors, starting salaries of $50,000 each, full benefits, opportunity for advancement. Nobody gets left behind. The scope of the offer overwhelms Jerome. Yesterday he was worried about a $1,200 rent. Today, he's looking at contracts worth hundreds of thousands, programs that could affect entire communities. The vision is bigger than just one center, Robert continues, showing maps of proposed locations. Detroit, Atlanta, Phoenix, communities that need opportunity. Each center is named after a local hero, starting with your father. Jerome studies the financial projections, seeing numbers that could secure Maya's future, pay for Zoe's education, and turn his family's struggles into distant memories. But the responsibility feels crushing. Mr. Sterling, I've never managed anything bigger than a 3-person shop. You're talking about training hundreds of people, running multiple locations, being responsible for other people's careers. Your father managed to save my life with field surgery and improvised equipment, Robert replies. Leadership isn't about formal training, it's about character under pressure. You demonstrated that last night. Margaret shows Jerome photos from other Sterling Industries community programs. We're not throwing you into deep water alone. You'd have our full support team, business managers, curriculum designers, marketing specialists. Your job is to ensure the programs serve real people with real needs. Jerome looks at Maya, who's been quietly reading contract details with her teacher's eye for important language. What do you think? I think this honors your father while creating opportunities for families like ours, Maya says carefully. But Jerome, this is huge, life-changing huge. Robert's voice grows personal. Your father believed in service above self. This partnership would let you serve on a scale he could never have imagined, creating jobs, developing skills, building something that lasts. What's the timeline? Jerome asks, trying to ground himself in practical details. 3 months to transition your current business or convert it to our first training center. 6 months to graduate the first class of 25 students. 12 months to evaluate expansion opportunities. Robert pulls out implementation schedules. We handle all startup costs, equipment, facility modifications, and marketing. You focus on building the program. Jerome walks the length of his small garage, imagining it transformed into something that could change lives. And if it doesn't work, if I'm not cut out for this, then you'll still be financially better off than when you started, Robert guarantees. House purchase assistance, Zoe's education fund, healthcare for life. This isn't a risk, Jerome. It's recognition of what your family has already given. Maya asks practical questions about health insurance, retirement planning, relocation assistance. Every answer reveals a comprehensive thinking. This offer addresses every possible concern about their family's security. Your father died believing he hadn't given you enough, Robert says quietly. This partnership proves he gave you everything. The character to build something meaningful, the integrity to serve others, the courage to take risks for the right reasons. Jerome stares at the contract that could transform his life, feeling the weight of choice that echoes his father's sacrifices. Mr. Sterling, I need time to think about this. Take all the time you need. Robert nods, understanding the magnitude of what he's proposing. But remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing service despite fear. Your father taught me that in the desert 15 years ago. Robert hands Jerome his personal card. My direct number. Call me when you're ready to honor your father's legacy on the scale it deserves. As the Sterling family prepares to leave, Jerome holds contracts that could change everything, wondering if he's worthy of the future they're offering. 12 months later, the transformation speaks for itself. Before. Jerome's cramped apartment with eviction notices scattered across the kitchen table, Maya counting quarters for groceries, while Zoe drew pictures on the backs of overdue bills. After, a comfortable suburban home with a yard where Zoe plays soccer, her drawings now framed and displayed throughout rooms filled with laughter instead of financial anxiety. The signing ceremony made local news. East Cleveland mechanic partners with billionaire CEO read the headlines, but the real story unfolded over months of careful building. Before, Jerome working alone in his dimly lit garage, wrestling with outdated equipment and dwindling customers who chose chain stores over personal service. After, Jerome leading a team of 6 instructors in the gleaming Thomas Williams Community Automotive Training Center, teaching cutting-edge electric vehicle technology to students who hang on every word. The original garage bay remains as a memorial workspace, surrounded by modern classrooms and diagnostic equipment that rivals university programs. Thomas Williams' photograph watches over it all, his army dress uniform a reminder that service comes in many forms. Maya returned to teaching at a well-funded school across town, her confidence restored along with their financial security. Evenings find her helping Jerome with curriculum development, while Zoe does homework at their kitchen table. 3 people building futures instead of merely surviving. The numbers tell part of the story. 45 students graduated from the first 2 classes. 87% found jobs within 6 months, earning an average starting salary of $45,000. 23 students qualified for additional Sterling Industries scholarships to pursue automotive engineering degrees. But numbers can't capture Maria Santos, single mother of 3, learning hybrid technology that doubled her income as an independent mechanic. Or David Washington, Army veteran struggling with PTSD, finding purpose in the structured environment that reminded him of military precision without the trauma. Jerome's former employees thrived in their new roles. Tony became head of the diesel program, buying his first house after 30 years of renting. Miguel leads the electrical systems curriculum, his daughter starting engineering school on a Sterling scholarship. Local news coverage brought regional attention. Community training model creates career pathways featured Jerome explaining electric vehicle diagnostics to camera crews. His natural communication style and authentic background made him a sought-after speaker at automotive conferences. The economic impact rippled through East Cleveland. Local businesses reported increased activity as graduates spent their higher wages in the neighborhood. The corner grocery store hired 2 training center graduates as mechanics for their delivery fleet. Robert Sterling's corporate interviews credited Jerome with bringing soul back to community investment. Their partnership became a Harvard Business School case study in authentic corporate responsibility. Emma Sterling visits monthly, wearing friendship bracelets and telling anyone who'll listen about Uncle Jerome who saved my life. She started a pen pal relationship with Zoe, 2 children connected by an act of kindness that echoed through time. The Sterling and Williams families now share holidays. Thanksgiving dinner at Jerome's house includes Robert carving turkey, while Margaret helps Zoe with science projects. 2 families brought together by crisis, now permanently connected by shared purpose. Jerome's wedding to Maya took place in the training center's main classroom, surrounded by students, neighbors, and corporate executives who'd become friends. Emma served as flower girl, proudly wearing the friendship bracelet that started everything. Community pride transformed the neighborhood. Young people have clear pathways to middle-class careers. Parents point to the training center as proof that hard work and education create opportunity. Thomas Williams Memorial became a neighborhood landmark where people leave flowers and notes of gratitude. Plans for expansion progressed steadily. Detroit approved zoning for the second Thomas Williams Center. Atlanta and Phoenix submitted proposals. Each location will bear the name of a local hero, following Jerome's model of honoring community legacy while building future opportunity. Zoe excels in her new school, confidently telling classmates that her dad, Jerome, is an engineer who helps people learn good jobs. Her science fair project on electric vehicle batteries won first place, inspired by daily exposure to cutting-edge technology. Jerome receives emergency calls monthly, but now dispatches trained graduates in fully equipped Sterling Industries response vehicles. The tradition of roadside assistance continues. multiplied through every person he's trained to serve others. The most powerful measure of success happens quietly. Former students return as volunteers, teaching newer classes, creating networks of mutual support. The center became more than a training facility. It became a community hub where people believe in second chances and shared prosperity. 12 months after signing contracts that seemed impossible, Jerome stands in the training center watching students master skills that will change their lives. His father's photograph smiles down as the legacy of service continues, scaled beyond anything Thomas Williams could have imagined. Thanksgiving 2025. Exactly 1 year after the roadside rescue that changed everything, Jerome carves turkey in his spacious dining room, surrounded by an extended family that would have seemed impossible 12 months ago. Maya laughs with Margaret Sterling while Zoe and Emma compare friendship bracelets, now matching sets they make together during Emma's monthly visits. Robert Sterling raises his glass. To second chances and the people who make them possible. To Uncle Jerome, Emma adds, her voice bright with the confidence of a healthy 8-year-old who survived a crisis and gained a hero. Mid-dinner, Jerome's phone buzzes with an emergency alert. Family stranded on Route 90, mile marker 34. Child in medical distress. The exact location where this story began. The table goes quiet as everyone recognizes the significance. Maya reaches for Jerome's hand. Go, she says gently, the same understanding that defined their relationship from the beginning. Emma Sterling claps her hands. Send the helpers, Uncle Jerome, like you taught them. Jerome smiles, pulling out his tablet to coordinate the response. Instead of rushing into the storm himself, he activates the Thomas Williams Center Emergency Response Team. 3 graduates deploy in a fully equipped Sterling Industries vehicle, trained not just in automotive repair, but in crisis communication and medical first aid. Team 2 responding to Route 90, crackles through Jerome's radio. ETA 12 minutes. We've got full diagnostic equipment and medical supplies. Jerome monitors their progress on GPS while staying seated with his family. This is Jerome Williams, Thomas Williams Center Dispatch. What's your status? Family of 4, vehicle disabled, 6-year-old with breathing difficulties. We're warming the child now and beginning vehicle assessment. Robert watches with obvious pride as Jerome coordinates the rescue from their dinner table. Your father would be amazed by this. He'd probably say we're making it too complicated, Jerome laughs. Dad believed in simple solutions. See someone who needs help, help them. 20 minutes later, Jerome's radio crackles with success. Vehicle repaired, family mobile, child stable, and breathing normally. They send their gratitude to the Thomas Williams Center. Jerome sets down his radio and returns to dinner, surrounded by people who understand that service multiplies when it's taught well. Later, on the back porch, Robert shares a truth he's never voiced. That promise I made to your father in Afghanistan, to build something meaningful with the life he saved, became the foundation for everything Sterling Industries represents. Jerome looks up at stars visible despite the city lights. So this was never about paying back a debt? No, Robert replies quietly. This was about honoring a legacy that deserved to continue. Inside, laughter echoes from the dining room where 2 families celebrate the truth that one act of kindness can echo through generations, creating ripples that touch lives in ways the original helper never imagines. Some promises take 15 years to keep, but the best ones create new promises that last forever. Jerome's story proves that every choice to help others creates ripples we cannot see. When you stop for strangers, when you sacrifice convenience for compassion, when you choose service over self, you're not just changing their moment, you're potentially transforming destinies. This Thanksgiving, this holiday season, this very moment, look for your Jerome Williams opportunity. The stranded motorist, the struggling neighbor, the overwhelmed parent, the elderly person who needs assistance. Your small act of kindness might be exactly what changes someone's life trajectory forever. Because the stranger you help today might become the family you never knew you needed. The child you save might grow up to save others. The moment you choose compassion over convenience might echo through generations. What's your story of unexpected kindness? Share it in the comments below. Like this video if Jerome's journey reminded you that goodness multiplies. Subscribe for more proof that ordinary people doing extraordinary things can change the world. Because sometimes missing dinner really does change your destiny.